my name is Jenny Lauren Dowden, and today we are joined by Senator Dan Sullivan. As many of you know, he's a Republican. He serves District 20, which is the Jonesboro, Craighead County area. Hi.
Hi, glad to be on. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming on. I wanted to talk to you about some of the bills that you have going on right now and what's happening at the Capitol. But first, can I get your opinion on the Arkansas Learns Act that just recently passed out of the House?
Yes, I'm a supporter and a proud supporter. You know, we have been going on for decades with Arkansas at the bottom of the scale nationally, and the governor has had the courage to step up and try to change that dynamic. And anytime one steps out with courage like that and a willingness to help our kids, that's an important issue. So I fully support what the governor's doing.
It is an exciting bill to see happen. I want to talk to you about three bills in particular that you've been working hard on. The first one would be Senate Bill 81, which deals with sexually explicit material in the libraries. Talk to us about that bill and what's next.
Sure. It has passed out of the Senate through the committee. It's now on the committee at the House, and it will be heard at 10 o'clock Tuesday morning. And I'm excited about it. You know, it's kind of similar to what the governor's doing. Arkansas will be one of just a few states, 9 or 10 states, who have removed the exemption that librarians have for obscene material. So that's a huge step nationally. The bill also would have a path forward for books that are challenged, not because they're obscene, but because parents object to where the book is placed. We're not wanting to ban books, but parents think that some books shouldn't be in the children's section. And this bill creates a path forward. First, you go to the librarian, then you go to the library committee, and then it could, for a public library, can go as far as to the quorum court or the city council, so that people that have a path forward to object up to elected officials, not just through bureaucrats, but up through their elected officials. And again, that is unusual. It's good. It would be groundbreaking nationally if we can get it through the House.
I think, and you briefly touched on this, I think one of the frustrating things for parents, whenever they find these books in their child's school, they go through all of the what's required in the school policy. You know, you can have a committee to review the material. It could go to the school board, but ultimately it's the same people really who put the book there in the first place. And so this bill would give them another avenue to do that. Do you expect a lot of opposition next week?
Yes. I mean, there was a lot of opposition in the Senate, and I know there'll be bigger opposition in the House. You know, just to be clear for your listeners, when it's challenged in the school, it goes to a school committee, and that school committee meets behind closed doors. And then they come back out and say, we voted 6-0, and we're leaving it where it is. And the people who challenged have no, why did you vote the way you did? Why did you do it in secret? So what this bill does, it doesn't challenge the process, but it brings transparency to the process. Whoever's on that committee at the school has to vote publicly. That's a good, transparent thing to do.
That is a good, transparent thing. Well, talk to us about Senate Bill 125. That's regarding free speech on university campuses. I know that you've had some trouble getting this out of the Education Committee.
Yes, the first time it went before the committee, it appeared obvious to me that it wasn't going to pass. Committee members had some legitimate questions about how the law read and whether the law was appropriate or inappropriate, respected the Constitution or not. So I pulled it down, and I went to the Attorney General's office and asked the Attorney General to review the bill. And before that, I went to 3 different colleges, universities, University of Central Arkansas, U of A, and the Bowen School of Law. And I met with students, and the students said, yes, there are places in class where we're intimidated. If you disagree with the professor on free speech issues, you essentially learn to shut up. Those are their words, not mine. You learn that you can't challenge a professor or get graded down. We had one student at Bowen School of Law who actually said she lost discussion points for the day because the professor didn't like her perspective on a topic, whatever that topic would be.
Yeah.
And so she lost her points, and it became obvious if she wanted to pass the class, just be quiet. At UCA, some of the students asked, what about a drag queen show? Can we promote a drag queen show? And I said, yes, if you want to put up a poster, you're protected by that. You can't do it on public campuses and public property, but you can do it, advertise for it. If students want to walk through campus and not be disruptive, they're protected to do that. So this wasn't a conservative or liberal view. This protects students' First Amendment right. Wherever you are, it protects that right. I actually had a professor at one of the schools say that this bill would not allow her to grade a student down if they use the word y'all on a paper. And it just seemed ridiculous to me, but that's the extent that the professors went to let them be the thumbs up or thumbs down or thumbs up.
Yeah,
yeah. Kind of like the Roman rule. But so I went to the Attorney General, and the Attorney General, and I'm going to read the Attorney General's comment, because the question was, if a student can use the term y'all in an essay, can they dock points or grade down? And this is the Attorney General's answer. He said that would be absurd, an absurd conclusion from the text of the bill. And further down, the Attorney General says, our office reviews this bill and it does not raise any red flags. We have no issue with this bill and there are no constitutional infirmities. So after visiting classes and after going and hearing from students, it was obvious to me that some action needed to be taken. And if members of that committee had concerns with the constitutional infirmities, and the Attorney General reviews it, it seemed pretty obvious that that was not a question. Now, one could say the bill doesn't go far enough. One could say the bill goes too far. One can't say there are constitutional issues. So I took it back to committee, presented the bill again, had discussion again, and it only got 3 positive votes from a committee that has 6 Republicans on that committee.
Well, then, so you try to get out of that committee twice now. Well, the first time you pulled it down, the second one, only 3 votes from conservatives. What are their concerns? What are they telling you that they're worried about?
I don't know. And again, this would be a national standard. You just don't see universities that have a policy about such things as pronouns, such things as professors intimidating intentionally or unintentionally students. You just don't see policies like that. So the point of this bill is to have the universities in Arkansas have a written policy. Many of your listeners saw the issue at U of A, where a student posted explicit pictures. Some students protested. They went to the university chancellor, and the university chancellor did a good job mitigating that. But why would a university put a chancellor in that position? Why would the university not have a policy to say, Chancellor, here, and students, here's our policy. Let's talk about it. As a matter of fact, the student had a really good comment. If you read that newspaper article, the student said, why isn't the university, why isn't administration on the same page? Why isn't there essentially a policy to guide students and universities on how we do this? And the student that brought that up had a really good point. If you'll remember, back several years ago, a student at Arkansas State was told to stand in the square in the free speech zone, and when the university said that, and she said no, she was escorted off campus. She came back and filed a lawsuit, and the university said, let's go back here in our offices and let's deal with this behind closed doors. And she said, no, I'm going to deal with it with a lawsuit. And I guess the student at U of A has agreed to go behind closed doors and negotiate that rather than file a lawsuit, which begs the question, why doesn't the university have a policy that everyone knows of, and they just do not want to do that, and the listening audience can decide on their own why the university refuses to have a policy?
And so, in your opinion, Senate Bill 125 would help create something for them to go off of to create individual policy there at the university?
Sure. And the universities the first time said, we don't want to have a policy that's not guided by law. So please draft a law, pass a law. We will develop our policy around the law. And that's all this is intended to do, to ask universities to have a policy that guides administrators and guides students. I'm not aware of many universities, probably a handful, who want to address this because they're afraid that if they have law that says you can't mandate language, you can't mandate pronouns, then there'll be huge kickback from the staff and faculty. But it's the right thing to do, and that's what this bill is intended to do, is to help the state of Arkansas stand strong that you can't intimidate students, and we're going to have a policy drafted that gives guidance to those issues.
Let's talk about Senate Bill 71. That's also another bill that you've had, that's been hard to get through. You're bringing these tough bills to people,
sure.
and talk to us about that one.
Good legislation should be hard to get through. It shouldn't be something that isn't debated. And I did the same thing on 125. It's setting a national precedent and standard. We've debated. I'm not willing to bend anymore on that bill. They need to have a policy. On 71, the affirmative action bill, I have met and I promised to go around the state or meet with people statewide. I've done that locally with statewide groups. Actually had one group that said, would you let us offer amendments? And I said, sure, offer them and I'll read them. And they offered an amendment that actually did away with state sovereignty and allowed people to sue the state. Well, that's constitutional. When I asked the gentleman why they did that, they said, because I wanted you to be sure and read all the bill. Well, I did, or all their amendments. I did, and I've listened to many, many groups. I've actually made multiple changes to it, and that bill is due to go before the committee again soon. And I'm willing to take the time and listen to people, but I've gone about as far as we can go with that one also.
Now, what committee will that one be heard in?
That is in state agencies.
State agencies. Okay. Well, anything else that you want to talk about or let us know, or what do you want people to, do they need to reach out to those members on the Judiciary Committee for the House by Tuesday? What would you suggest?
Yes, they're under a lot of pressure. Members are, but on both sides. And folks, it is very stressful, and they need your support. So if you can reach out to people on that in Judiciary at the House, please do. Let them know they have your full support. Same thing on Arkansas Learns. Please reach out to your legislators. Let them know that you're supportive of them and you want the best thing to happen.
Thank you so much for joining us on Conduit. I hope that you join us again soon.
Sure. Hopefully after Senate Bill 125, the free speech on college campuses, reach out to your university staff and ask them why they refuse to have a policy. I'm afraid that they want to avoid at all costs having a policy on free speech on college campuses inside, about pronouns, about what students being intimidated. I also asked university staff what they are doing to monitor what happens in classes and what's going on. We really need that to happen.
Thank you so much, Senator.
Thank you.